Hello, boys and girls. Mr. Palst here in our classroom. Got so many good books to choose from. So many amazing authors that we've shared. And today, I want to focus on a new author, which is Jackie French Koller. And I was able to find two stories that Jackie French Koller wrote. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to share both of them today. We'll only do one at a time. But we'll start with Horace the Horrible. Another one is No Such Thing. And we'll visit that another time. Very exciting. I love new books. So this is Horace the Horrible. I don't want to tell you too much about it before we start this one. This one I want to be kind of a secret and kind of go through it together. All right? So Horace the Horrible. Princess Minuet stared at the name on the front door of her uncle's castle. "Is my uncle really horrible?" she asked Friar Tim. "His enemies certainly think so," said Friar Tim. He lifted the great door knocker and let it fall. Doesn't look too friendly. A moment later, the door flew open. "I don't want any," boomed Horace the Horrible. "Please, sire," said Friar Tim. "I'm not selling anything. I am sent by your brother, the king." "Humph," said Horace. "What does that royal bigwig want to know?" "He sent you this." Friar Tim stepped aside, and there stood Minuet. "That?" roared Horace. "Why, that is a child." "Precisely," said the friar. "It is your niece, Minuet. The king has the flu. He asks that you look after Minuet until he is well." "That's impossible," blustered Horace. "I've dragons to slay, armies to vanquish." "Sorry," said Friar Tim. He gave Minuet a little push and said goodbye, and left. "But this can't be," shouted Horace. Minuet stared at the high stone walls and leering gargoyles. It was nothing like her home. She sniffled. Horace glared at her. Minuet began to sob. "Great galloping gargoyles," Horace bellowed. "What's wrong?" I miss my daddy," said Minuet. "Oh, daddy fatty," said Horace. "I can do anything that Swellhead can do. Come, let's slay a dragon." He lifted Minuet up on his horse and rode off. At last, they heard a roar. Ooh, look at that. "Here's a dragon now," shouted Sir Horace. "Down you go." He lowered Minuet from the saddle. She grabbed his sword. "What are you doing?" he cried, his eyes on the approaching dragon. "Give that back, hurry!" Minuet picked up a stick and put it in Horace's hand. Holding the stick high, Sir Horace charged. Flames burst from the dragon's mouth and smoke filled the air. There was a great deal of roaring and shrieking. Then a slightly scorched Sir Horace charged back out of the smoke. "This is a stick," he shouted. "I know," said Minuet. "I could have been killed," Sir Horace roared. "So could have the dragon," said Minuet. "And I still miss my daddy."
Oh, daddy ready, Sir Horace blustered. Your daddy couldn't fight a dragonfly. Come on, let's vanquish an army. He scooped up Minuet and galloped off again. Over hill and dale they rode until they came upon a vast army. Ah, here we go, said Sir Horace. He lowered Minuet to the ground and raced down into the valley. Minuet heard clashing swords and thundering hoofs. She saw the great army flee into the hills. Sir Horace rode back with a flagstaff in his hand. For you, my lady, he said. Minuet unfurled the flag and looked at it. Uncle, she said, this is our flag. You just vanquished our army. Sir Horace lifted his visor and squinted. Oh, drat, he mumbled. I miss my daddy, Minuet snuffled. Daddy schmatty, said Horace. Your daddy couldn't vanquish an army of ants. Let's go find some damsels in distress. East and west and north and south they rode, to the farthest corner of the kingdom. There were no damsels to be found. Discouraged, Sir Horace sat down beneath a tree for some lunch and a short nap. While Horace snored, Minuet gazed at a tall stone tower in the distance. Away from her uncle, she crept across the meadow. She ran, and up the tower stairs she climbed. I wonder what her plan is. Help! Help! Minuet cried. Sir Horace sprang to his feet. A damsel! He cried. Fear not, my lady. Help is on the way. He leapt to his horse, charged across the meadow, and scaled the tower walls, and hurled himself through the window. You could have taken the stairs, said Minuet. Sir Horace stared. You? He cried. I thought I heard a damsel in distress. Uncle, said Minuet, I am a damsel in distress. Horace looked doubtful. How so? He asked. I miss my daddy, shouted Minuet. Oh, daddy weddy, shouted Sir Horace. He grabbed Minuet's hand and dragged her back out to the meadow. Just tell me one thing your daddy does better than I do, he demanded. He hugs, said Minuet. He... What? Sir Horace choked. He hugs, said Minuet. That's all I want. Not a dragon, not an army, not a damsel in distress, just a hug. Huff, said Horace. We can't have that. I'm far too hard and prickly for hugging. You could take your armor off, said Minuet. Take my... Are you mad? I haven't had my armor off in public since I was a knave. But my daddy, Minuet began. Horace rolled his eyes. All right, he barked. He took off his helmet, his breastplate, his mail suit, and his gloves. He squinted in the sun. I don't think I like this, he said. Sit down, said Minuet. Sir Horace sat. Minuet crawled into his lap. No hug. Very carefully, Horace put his arms around her. Minuet snuggled against his chest. "Thank you, Uncle Horace," she said. Sir Horace blushed. "No one will ever call me Horace the Horrible again." "Is that so bad?" asked Minuet. Sir Horace considered. Without his armor on, he could hear the birds singing and smell the meadow flowers. He could feel the sun on his shoulders and the cool breeze in his hair. He hugged Minuet tighter. "Maybe not," he said. So a little girl like Minuet was able to take down Horace the Horrible. Amazing lesson here, what kindness can do. Really good story. Jackie French Koller. As I said, I'm going to get into another story next time, No Such Thing. The illustrations would grab me at first. And as I said to you before, boys and girls, these videos that I post on my Google Classroom page, you can revisit multiple times. You know, these stories I've revisited so many times myself. And a good strategy you can do is to, play the audio and video of me reading the story. And you can practice reading the certain pages. So you can pause it on a page and you can try reading the page on yourself. And if you get stuck on a word, then you can press play and hear me read it. "But this can't be," shouted Horace. Minuet stared at the high stone walls and leering gargoyle. It was nothing like home. She sniffled. Horace glared at her. Minuet began to sob. "Great galloping gargoyles," Horace bellowed. "What's wrong?" "I miss my daddy," said Minuet. So if you read this page, and for instance, say you had trouble with the word bellowed, okay, or even glared, you can press play and you can hear me read it, okay? Our class as a whole is becoming amazing readers. I tell you this all the time. I'm so impressed every time I hear you read. So continue reading, continue revisiting these videos, not just when you're with me, when you're at home as well. And you guys are going to turn into amazing readers. All right, I'll see you soon.